I, my brother's keeper.
In the early 90s, America was gripped by the crack epidemic, and hip-hop was exploding into the mainstream around the same time. Out of this cultural moment came New Jack City, a gritty urban crime thriller that not only became a box office hit, but also defined a generation. Today we're diving deep into the 1991 classic, the story, the cast, the crew, and the lasting impact. Now quickly before I begin, this video is a collaboration with fellow YouTuber and artist Atmosphere. He watches my content and leaves comments on a lot of my videos, for which I'm forever thankful. And he's graciously provided me with all the background music in this video, including this fly-ass mix of the New Jack City theme that you hear playing right now. I'll be leaving links in the description for his YouTube channel and Soundcloud. So if you want to sit back and relax, put on some headphones and check out Atmosphere's channel. Thanks again, bro. So where do I even begin with New Jack City? If you're a black man or woman around my age, there are certain movies that you're basically expected to have seen. Like I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, Harlem Nights, Coming to America, Friday, and of course, New Jack City. You're basically expected to be able to quote lines from this movie.
I was prom queen of King High School.
That used to be the prom queen, now you ain't know about the prom thing.
You should know who Pooky is by osmosis. This movie is so iconic in the black community that the name Pooky became a synonym for crackhead. But is New Jack City even a good movie? I'll get into that by the end of the video. Released in 1991, New Jack City was a directorial debut for Mario Van Peebles, who has seemingly come a long way from the abysmal dumpster fire of a film, Rappin', that I talked about previously. Van Peebles also stars in the film as Stone, but I'm honestly not sure what his position or title is in this film. Am I crazy, or do they never really mention what he is? Is he a detective, a lieutenant? I have no idea, honestly. Somebody please correct me, because I don't have the patience to go back through the movie and listen to every line of dialogue to figure it out. The screenplay was written by Thomas Lee Wright, with contributions from journalist Barry Michael Cooper, who based the story partly on real events involving drug kingpins of the 80s. There was also a lawsuit filed because apparently some of the story was lifted from someone else's story. That's a whole nother issue. I'm not going to really get into that in this video. The film was produced by Doug McHenry and George Jackson under Warner Brothers Pictures with a budget of about $8 million. At the box office, the film made over $47 million worldwide, a major hit for a modestly budgeted crime drama. The film often gets credited with helping spark the wave of 90s urban crime and hip-hop influenced films, paving the way for titles like Boys in the Hood, Juice, and Menace to Society. However, I don't think that's entirely true, because Boys in the Hood came out only about 4 months after New Jack City, which means they were probably in production around the same time. But Juice and Menace to Society, I can see as much better arguments. Now let's go through the story. The film opens in New York City around the mid-80s, with the crack epidemic just emerging. Enter Nino Brown, played by Wesley Snipes. And I should also mention how strange it was that a dark-skinned black man not named Eddie Murphy was the lead in a major Hollywood film. But Nino's a ruthless drug lord who builds a criminal empire with his crew known as the Cash Money Brothers, or CMB.
CMB. CMB. Man, we all we got.
The other two Cash Money Brothers consist of G Money, played by Alan Payne, and the Dutta Man, played by Bill Nunn. And I can't be crazy, but am I the only person that didn't realize his actual name in the film is the Dutta Man? I mean, I've seen this movie countless times, and it never occurred to me to even ask what his name was in this film, or bother to check the credits. Let me know in the comments if I need to lose my black card over that one. But back to the story. The CMB take control of an entire apartment complex called The Carter, turning it into a heavily guarded drug fortress. Meanwhile, law enforcement is desperate to stop the spread of crack cocaine. Scotty Appleton, played by rapper Ice-T, who I mentioned before, just seemed to be in everything back then, is an undercover cop with a personal vendetta against criminals and gang members after a gang member took out his mother years prior. Later on in the movie, while undercover with the CMB, Nino Brown actually admits that he's the person who shot Scotty's mom and that it was all part of a gang initiation. Of course, Scotty can't blow his cover, so he just kinda has to take it on the chin. Under pressure from Van Peebles' Stone, Scotty's forced to team up with a loose cannon officer named Nick Peretti, played by Judd Nelson, who honestly has the most pointless role in this entire movie. It's almost like he's just there to have a buddy cop dynamic that doesn't really work out, because his character does basically nothing for the entire film. I mean, find me someone that can quote 2 Nick Peretti lines off the top of their head. No Google involved. Scotty also gets crack addict Pooky into rehab. Pooky wants to return the favor and help them bust the CMB. And I'm going to talk a lot more about Pooky in a minute. Now, Pooky does successfully help infiltrate the CMB, but being around all that crack, he can't help but fall back into his addiction. Cause you know, he just be calling me.
Be calling me, man. Be calling me, man. I just gotta go to him. Need help.
Pooky gets caught by G-Money wearing a wire. G-Money orders the entire Carter to be shut down and destroyed. Scotty and the rest of the police force have to try to raid the place before all the computer systems are burned and they're left with no evidence and a dead Pooky. In the climax of the film, Nino is captured and put on trial. But instead of taking full responsibility, he cleverly shifts blame to his associates, cutting a deal to serve minimal prison time. However, in the film's shocking conclusion, Nino is confronted outside the courthouse by an elderly man from the neighborhood, played by Bill Cobbs. The man shoots Nino dead, delivering his own form of justice. Now, in that synopsis, I left out a lot of shit, and that's what I'm about to get into. Starting with Pooky, played by Chris Rock. We first meet Pooky pre-crack addiction at the beginning of the film. He's attempting to make a drug deal with an undercover Scotty, but Pooky had no intention of making a drug deal. He was just a local stick-up kid. He tries to rob Scotty for the money, and there's a chase scene. And for whatever reason, to this day, I still wince watching Chris Rock try to run from Scotty on that bike down those stairs. I just don't know what it is about that scene that makes me cringe. Not because the scene was badly done or anything, it's just that you know what's coming. During the pursuit, Pooky pulls out a gun and Scotty shoots him in the leg. And apparently this is the reason that Pooky goes from small-time thug to crackhead only a few years later. And for good or bad, you gotta give Chris Rock some credit for his role as Pooky. I mean, he basically defined the crackhead on TV. Ashy ass lips, dirty clothes, skinny as shit, and whether it was a true portrayal of crackheads or not was irrelevant, because that's what everyone thought they looked like. And for all the fame, fortune, success Chris Rock has had over the years, he will always be remembered for 2 things: getting slapped on stage by Will Smith and Pooky. The next person I want to talk about is Alan Payne's G-Money. G-Money is probably the second most interesting character in this film behind Nino Brown. And the film actually does a pretty good job of making you feel a little bad for G-Money, not to mention the fact that he has what is most likely the most quoted line in this movie.
CMB. CMB. Man, we all we got.
But you feel for G-Money, because Nino kinda treats him like shit, even steals his girl. G-Money secretly wants to take over the CMB, and comes up with a plan to try to undermine Nino, while also battling his own crack addiction. G-Money can't seem to get out of his own way, and after his failure at running the Carter, Nino gives him one last chance. This is when Ice-T's Scotty goes undercover to try to infiltrate the CMB. He's hired by G-Money, and when Nino warns G-Money that if Scotty isn't who he says he is, he's going to kill them both. You know what's coming later.
If it's not who he says he is, I'm gonna kill him. Then I'm gonna kill you.
Now I gotta spend some time on the main reason that people still love this movie, and that's Wesley Snipes as Nino Brown. You know, if someone asked me which Wesley Snipes character was more iconic, Blade or Nino Brown, I'd honestly have to think about it for a while. New Jack City turned Wesley Snipes into a star, and for good reason, because he carries the bulk of this film. And there's no scene with Nino Brown in it that he isn't the focus of all your attention. I mean, just check this scene out.
You're incapable of running this shit.
Sit your $5 ass down before I make change.
This is the coolest shit we had ever seen at this point. It's got everything. Fly ass outfits, gold chains, iconic lines.
I never liked you anyway, pretty motherfucker.
And Snipes absolutely carries this shit. The scene was so iconic, it got spoofed on Martin.
Anybody want to tell me who? Come on now. Don't you all speak at once?
Snipes plays Nino like a complete asshole with no redeeming qualities. And still, you kinda end up rooting for him. But as great a character as Nino Brown is in this film, there are a few negatives I need to point out. I already mentioned Judd Nelson's character, but I gotta mention Ice-T as Scotty. Something about him is just kind of annoying in this film.
I'm gonna shoot you so bad, my dick's hard.
I'm through, excuse me.
Like, I don't hate him. I don't mind watching the film at all. But there's something about Ice-T as Scotty that just rubs me the wrong way. Oh, and Ice-T also had a role in the movie Rappin', so he loses points just for that. I also need to mention the film's plot. It has a few holes in it, not the least of which being the CMB's plan to take over the Carter. I understand taking over a building to centralize your organization, but they were literally doing everything in that building, making the crack, selling it, taking over the apartments. It would literally make you a target for enemies or the police. I was 13 when this movie was released, and even then, I thought it was weird that they did everything out of one location. Their operation certainly wasn't small enough to stay under the radar, and it was certainly too big to not look at expansion. So what was their ultimate goal? Another thing that always bugged me was Kareem, played by R&B singer Christopher Williams, otherwise known as Not Albie Shore. My issue with him isn't just because Nino dogged his sister out and he kept working for him, or Nino stabbing him in the hand and he continued working for him. He always suspected Scotty, but he couldn't quite place him.
Yo, Keish, I seen that boy somewhere before.
So let's rewind back to the beginning of the film. During that chase scene between Ice-T and Pooky, when Ice-T finally shoots Pooky and catches up to him, Christopher Williams' character is standing over both of them, watching the whole incident go down. This is where he remembers Scotty from, but for whatever reason, it doesn't come back to him until the big drug deal towards the end of the film. By this time, Scotty's been undercover working for the CMB for quite some time. Sorry, Kareem, you slipping, bro. That's why Nino stabbed you in the hand. At least Christopher Williams did bring a pretty awesome song to the New Jack City soundtrack.
Don't wake me, I'm dreaming.
Which brings me back to the positive. The music in the film is of its time, but it's still pretty damn good. I mean, if you're not singing along with Keith Sweat during this part of the movie, then what are you doing? So is New Jack City a good movie? Well, yeah, at least in my opinion. Now, my measure of a good movie might be different than some other people's. Some people might think this movie is objectively bad, and some people think it's great. In my opinion, if I can watch a movie over and over again, it's pretty damn good. And New Jack City is a film that I can watch all the time. And I kinda do. It's one of those movies that hops around from one streaming service to another. So you're gonna have to try to look for it. So if for some strange reason you're watching this video and you've never seen New Jack City, go watch it. It's absolutely worth your time. And oh yeah, spoiler alert. And I want to give another shout out to Atmosphere for the background music. Like I said, his links will be in the description, so go check out his channel. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button harder than Pooky hits that pipe, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.